You noticed me when I felt invisible. For me, that really saved my life. That you cared enough to say, good run, even if I beat one of your athletes.
Which you usually did.
How long have you been coaching? Because I started running probably in 10th grade when I met you. That was 1975.
I took over the track program in 1971 or 2. Previous to that, I was a volunteer coach.
Well, because I knew people like you and Al Bukowski and, of course, Al Krauser, I kind of tried to follow your footsteps. What motivated you to do what you did and how you did it?
To be perfectly honest with you, it's hard to say what it is, except for the fact that I loved the sport and I loved kids. Joe, it wasn't anything I tried to do. You treat everybody well. You treat everybody the same, whether they are the national champ or whether he's the worst kid on the team. Everybody deserves to be treated the same.
Yes.
And if it happened that they found something about me that they wanted to carry with them for many years afterwards, all well and good. But I never set out for any of that. It just happened. And I was under the impression, as Al Krauser was and Al Bukowski was, that this can't be a part-time deal if you're going to have success and the kids are going to have a good time. You gotta make it a full-time deal. Otherwise, the kids won't make it a full-time deal.
When you think back to that time, though, what do you remember about me?
You were a hell of a talent. You had a lot more hair.
I think we all did.
It's only many years later when I found out your circumstances.
Nobody knew. I was very introverted at that time. I was going through a lot of stuff. So about 30 years later, Paul, we're at running camp. When I first told people how I had grown up and what I was going through while I was in track and field. You were there for that.
I believe I was.
I got to the camp and there was a whole bunch of commotion going on. There had been a kid that the parent called and said they were going to sue. What it turned out to be was that young man was in foster care. And I saw this kid and I knew exactly what had happened to him. He had been exposed and I just saw it in his eyes. Most of the athletes didn't know that he was in foster care. But now is the information for the entire camp. And then I decided to tell my story. I was petrified because I was then unmasking myself.
And you were carrying a huge burden. And did it feel better when you unloaded and let the world know?
Well, you know what? It's so funny because I did it because of that kid. And since I've done that, I haven't stopped. But it was very interesting, the reaction of the other athletes that were there. They didn't have the same circumstances, but they certainly seemed to be really touched by it. And they had their own stories to tell. So afterwards, I spent a lot of time talking to other kids and they connected, which was probably what motivates me to continue to do this. What do you think about the state of, say, coaching or teaching and the ability for these younger teachers to sort of connect to people and understand that people have their life issues that they carry with them?
I believe that most of them go into teaching for the reasons you just mentioned. I do believe they become teachers because they want to make kids' lives better. They want to listen to a kid's problems and maybe not solve them, but certainly give them a sounding board. That is our goal. It's the goal of the National Scholastic Athletic Foundation, who I work for and I'm a board member. Our object is to make high school kids' lives better?
When I talk about you, I tell people that you saw me. And what I mean by that is that you made sure that you looked me in the eye, you spoke to me. I did not have anybody coming to my meets. And I was a runner, athlete of the week and Newsday when they had that. I have a national record. I liked running, I liked to win, and I ran for the approval of the coaches that I admired. I ran for Al Krauser. And if you were looking and watching my race, I ran for you. I wanted to make you guys proud. You guys were sort of surrogate fathers to us, and we treated you that way, and we respected you that way. And it was, interactions with you, Paul, and certainly with Al Krauser and Al Burkowski that filled me with hope.
Wow, Joe, I appreciate that. What you've done is absolutely unbelievable. The lives that you have touched and are touching is a blessing, really.
Well, I think that we leave ripples, and you have left a ripple. Your interactions have impacted me, and those are being passed on to my children. We'll see what they do with them, but I really just want you to know that you have been an important person in my life. Although you were not my coach, the way that you've been a role model that keeps filling my well of hope that the world is going to be okay.
Thank you, Joe.
And I mean that.